Story time about how I was voted the ugliest girl in high school. Disclaimer, is not my story time, it's me on Instagram. Growing up, I was really awkward. My parents always used to call me the ugly duckling, but my dad told me not to worry that when I would grow up, I would become beautiful. Honestly, this really stuck to my head, and I am very beautiful now. I used to have braces, acne. My hair has always been curly, but I didn't know how to treat it back then. My mom had really straight hair, so she had no idea how to do my hair either. And this was the toughest thing for me. I would show up to school with knots in my hair because I didn't even know how to brush it. Eventually, my mom did start taking better care of my hair, which really helped. I also didn't know how to dress for my body. I wore big hoodies, big t-shirts, while the other girls in my high school dressed for their body type. I honestly just had no clue. I did get bullied, but mostly by boys. I think the girls probably just felt bad for me, so I never really had problems with other girls. A group of boys would always bother me. One of them even asked me out pretending that he wanted to go out with me. Of course I said yes because I actually believed him. He asked me to go to the movies, and when I showed up, he wasn't there. I decided to go watch the movie anyway, but the next day in school, I couldn't hear the end of it. To my face, this guy called me stupid. A few days later, they made a list of the ugliest girls. Part 2 is Story time about how I was voted the ugliest girl in high school. Disclaimer, is not my story time, it's on Instagram. That's when the boys came out with the list of the ugliest girls in high school. What they did was pass around some flyers with all the names on it, and then they had people write the #1 ugliest girl on the list. As soon as I saw my name on the list, I wanted to die. I pretended I was sick and went home. There was this one girl who actually stood up for me and the rest of the girls, and she was actually one of the prettiest girls in the entire school. She told everyone to knock it off, but nobody listened to her. Instead, the boys added her to the list as well, but there was no way that she was going to get voted #1. I would show up every day to school that week wishing that I was dead. Finally, on Friday, they came out with the winner. And of course, everyone picked me. I was completely mortified, but I actually started laughing when I saw the list. It was like the stress from the entire week had finally accumulated, and my reaction was to just laugh. While they were all hoping that I was just going to break down and cry, I started to laugh in their faces. The teacher asked me what was wrong and I showed her the list. She ran over to the principal's office and everything became way too dramatic for me. So I literally decided to run away from school. When I got home, I told my parents everything. Part 3 is up. Story time about how I was voted the ugliest girl in high school. Disclaimer, is not my story time, it's on Instagram. When I got home and told my parents what happened, my dad actually started to cry. He actually did feel really bad for me. They sat me down and told me that looks weren't everything. That's when my dad told me again that I would grow out of this awkward phase. Then they decided to take me shopping to the mall. I went into this really cute clothing store that I had always wanted to go to but never had the courage to, and they actually bought me a full wardrobe. After that, that's when my mom took me to a salon and they actually did my hair. They gave me a whole hair care routine, which I had never even heard of before, and I even went and got some Noxzema, which actually the Noxzema really worked for my acne. So when I got back to school, I felt like a different person, but not really because I was still me. The principal had gone out of her way to make all the boys pay, but really they only got suspension and didn't go to school for a week. The rest of high school was actually not that bad. I did look a lot better. 5 years later, I'm absolutely gorgeous. And guess what? One of the boys who bullied me actually slipped into my DMs last week. What should I say?
Am I wrong for refusing to change one of my students' diapers outside of school hours? I, 20 female, work full-time at a daycare with young preschoolers, a few of whom are still in diapers. The other day, I was at a huge barbecue with some friends from high school, and the friends of their parents were also there. I ran into one of my preschoolers and her mom and chatted with her for a little while. After a few minutes, the mom said that her kid's diaper was dirty and asked if I could change it. I thought she was joking, so I laughed and made a joke back about how I only change diapers when I'm on the clock. Her friends that she was sitting with all kind of laughed awkwardly, but she looked at me dead serious and said, "No, really, I don't change diapers." I felt really awkward but just said, "No, sorry," and then went to walk away. But then she started explaining to me that her husband is the only one who changes diapers because she's a germaphobe and has emetophobia, fear of throwing up. And she's only done it a few times when she absolutely had to, and she always threw up after it, which apparently she has a crippling fear of doing. I felt that regardless of the circumstances, it was inappropriate for her to ask me this, so I said no again. She seemed really shocked by this and continued to explain how much she hates changing diapers and how her husband wasn't here so he couldn't help. I just told her that I don't like changing them either, and I think that it's inappropriate for her to keep pushing this when I have already told her no. She then said, "It's devastating to me to learn my daughter's favorite teacher has so little empathy." And after that, I just walked away. A few minutes later, I saw her putting the kid in the car and leaving, so I assumed she went to wherever her husband was to have him do it. I texted my boss to tell her what happened because I'm about to go on vacation and I assumed that the mother would say something to her about it. My boss just told me that I could tell her about it in more detail when I get back, and she let me know if the mom said anything to her, but it seemed like I was in the right in saying no. I am not her employee, and even if I was, I still think that's not something you should ask someone to do outside of work hours. I do not know this mom at all. We rarely talk at pickup or drop off, and she was sitting at a table of her friends who I presume know about her situation and would have been better people to ask for help. I think if she would rather let her kid sit in a dirty diaper for the car ride home instead of changing it herself, she shouldn't be going to places without her husband. The only part of this that makes me feel like a little bit is the fact that the kid had to sit in their own poop for the car ride home. I just assumed that once I left, she would either ask one of her friends or suck it up and do it herself.
Story time on why I would never get my makeup done by a makeup artist ever again in my life. So this is during prom season and I really needed my makeup done. I waited last minute to get a makeup artist because at first I wasn't going to get my makeup done, but my mom suggested that it would probably be better for pictures. So 3 days before prom, I found this girl off on Instagram, DM'd her and asked her if she could do my makeup. She was a new makeup artist, by the way, which should have been a red flag, but I told you I needed someone immediately. She could do my makeup, but I had to go to her. And she said she charged an extra $50 with people who make last-minute appointments. And I was like, okay, because I just need my makeup done. So I had to put down a $50 deposit and also put down $50 for the late appointment. So far I paid $100. So I asked her for her address, and she said she doesn't give out addresses till the day of appointments. And she said it was for safety precautions. I was like, okay, so that's a little weird. So prom day comes, and I plan on getting my makeup maybe 2 hours before prom. So I called her 3 hours ahead. And when she gave me the address, she was an hour and a half away. I'll come back for part 2. Part 2 of the worst makeup artist in the world. So like I said, 3 hours before prom, she tells me last minute that she lived an hour and a half away. And I asked if she could make accommodations. Maybe we can meet in the middle somewhere. She said yes, but I would have to pay for her gas. So I was like, okay. We met halfway at a Wendy's. I know ghetto, but literally that was the only way. When she came, she had brought some of her makeup. Right before she started, she had asked me, like, where's my foundation and my concealer? And I'm like, what is that? When I tell you I do not know how to do makeup, I know nothing about makeup. She said that she bought foundation and concealer, but I would have to pay extra for using her foundation and concealer because she had her own makeup line. On the spot, I had to pay $20 for the foundation and $10 for the concealer. So that's an extra $30. By that time, I was not even adding up the calculations of how much I'd be paying for my makeup done. I just wanted my makeup done. And guys, when she finished, I did not even like it. My face looked so cakey. Before I could tell her that I wanted anything changed, she said that'll be $350.
Telling my friend her son is ugly. Okay, so boom, let's jump right into it. So me and my friend been friends for over a decade, 12 years to be exact. We literally do everything together. But that changed when she met her boyfriend. Now, my friend is really pretty, but her boyfriend not so much. He is very unattractive, but she fell in love with him regardless. Me and my friend are really close, so we joke about her dating an ugly guy all the time. His nickname is literally Ugly Boy when we talk about him in code. Well, my friend got pregnant by Ugly Boy and got an ugly baby. A month after her delivery, I was over at her house visiting. Her baby was sleeping, so we just stood over him smiling. And that's when I said it. Well, too bad he got his looks from his daddy. She looked at me in shock and said, "What do you mean?" I laughed saying, girl, he's definitely not cute. Okay, so boom, like I said, when I came over, the baby was sleeping, so we just stood over him smiling. And that's when I said it. Well, too bad he got his looks from his daddy. She looked at me shocked saying, "What do you mean?" I laughed and said, girl, he's definitely not the cutest. She kicked me out and hasn't talked to me since. That's never happened in our friendship before. I feel bad, but I just thought since we were comfortable saying her boyfriend was ugly and that his code name is literally Ugly Boy, I thought she wouldn't mind calling her son ugly too. So